This is Sound Up with Mark Goodman and Alan Light, the only music podcast that matters.
All right, here we go. Welcome, Sound Up. I'm Mark Goodman.
And I am Alan Light.
Today, we have a packed show with not one, but two great conversations with two very unique artists.
First up, we've got Rock and Roll Hall of Famer and former member of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Mike Campbell. And he joins us to discuss Vagabonds, Virgins, and Misfits, the upcoming release from his band, Mike Campbell and the Dirty Knobs.
And we also have my recent conversation with E, also known as Mark Oliver Everett, founding member and frontman of the EELS, who have a new album called EELS Time. We cover a lot of ground with E, including his recent health issues, writing and recording EELS Time, touring, and quite a bit more.
And since it's our first episode of the week, we will also have our new music picks.
Yes, I'm so looking forward to this. We've got a very special guest, up-and-coming new LA singer-songwriter, FREDDY, who is dropping her first new music this year, and she will join us to talk about it, delighting volumaniacs the world over.
Since there is so much going on, let's get right into it. Here's our conversation with guitarist, songwriter, producer, and rock and roll legend, Mike Campbell.
All right, we have a very special guest joining us, lead guitarist and co-writer for Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. This guy's been fronting his own band, the Dirty Knobs, since, by my recollection, 2021. Since COVID, I can't remember shit, so I'm not sure. They do have their third album, Vagabonds, Virgins, and Misfits, out June 14th. A big welcome to Mike Campbell.
Hi, Mark. Good to see you.
So we're really excited about the record, and it's a ways off. We understand June 14th is a ways off, but I know you have some live dates planned. And you already, all this way in advance, have dropped the first single and video, and you shot the video in Oklahoma. Maybe we can talk a little bit about that first video, Dare to Dream, which is up. People can find it. And the special guest.
Yeah, well, Dare to Dream was an old song that I found and it ended up on this record. It was an old analog tape, and I liked the song a lot. I'd forgotten about it, but it's got a lot of hope and positivity in it, which I think we need nowadays. But we decided to go to Tulsa and do the video because Tulsa was doing a Carney Day where they were honoring the Tulsa Church studio. And it just so happens when the Mudquetch drove out from Florida to LA, we stopped in Tulsa at the church studio, and that's where we met Denny Cordell, our producer. So going back there was kind of completing the circle of where I started and where I am now. That's why we did it there, and it's a wonderful town, and I like the video a lot. It's pretty high-end for us.
Had you been there before?
Well, only I haven't spent much time in Tulsa. No, Heartbreakers pass through now and then on tours.
I meant to the studio.
The studio. No, I hadn't been in the studio since the first day we walked in there back in '74, whenever it was. And it was quite an emotional experience, because I had been there with Tom and Denny Cordell, and I could still feel all those ghosts in the room. And it's a gorgeous studio. They've restored it and kept it up really well.
They put a lot to keep that thing up and get it back up and
yeah.
Up and
Teresa
running,
Knox did an incredible job on keeping it like it used to be and making it better, actually. So it's still there. It looks the same. It feels the same. Sounds great. And we had a wonderful time.
You got Graham Nash singing on this one. You got a few guests on this record. Some, Lucinda Williams is on here. Chris Stapleton's on here. Ben Tench is on here. How did the Visitors come together, and what did they bring into this project?
Well, I will start with Graham. I asked Graham, because I knew him a little bit, and I had done an interview with him, if he would be open to singing on a track of my band. And he said, he surprised me. He said, sure, I'll make your song better, which he did. So I said, with tongue-in-cheek.
Kind of what he does, right?
Tongue-in-cheek confidence, But I sent him the song, and he graciously put the voices on it. All the harmonies you hear on the chorus are all Graham. And me, it's like, so huge to have Graham sing on one of my songs. I love the Hollies, and of course Crosby, Stills, and Nash, but especially the Hollies. I am a child of the 60s, and I love that band, his voice in that band. And it's still hard to believe that I have him on one of my songs, but he did make it quite a bit better. And it sounds really good, I must say.
When something like that happens, specifically with someone who has such an incredibly long shadow as Graham Nash, what is that for you? You sort of alluded to, wow, one of my heroes. Were you guys in studio together, or did he send you something, or how did it work, and what was that like?
Well, like I said, I had met him before Crosby, Stills, and Nash had opened a few of our Heartbreakers dates. So I had seen him in Hawaii once. We did a benefit show there with Jackson Browne. So I knew him a little bit. But I do this radio show on Tom Petty Radio called The Breakdown.
I heard that episode last year with him on it.
So he was on that interview, and I got up the courage at the end of it because he was so gracious and asked him. I thought he would say he was busy, but he agreed to do it. So it was kind of just organic, My whole life is like that. Things just seem to fall in my lap, But it was a huge thrill from a poor Florida Jacksonville boy to have one of the Hollies singing on his record. It's a big deal to me,
I get it.
So you said this is an older, the song's been around a while, and I gather that a bunch of these are songs you've pulled out of the stacks and stuff you'd written for the Heartbreakers or, for consideration. How did you figure out, what made the cut for this time around? And what is it to go back? I mean, do you still relate to stuff does it have to change stuff that you wrote years and years ago? Do you still recognize that guy?
That's a very good question. I do recognize him, although I don't always remember him at the beginning of the songs when I hear these old songs. But our album now is about half new songs and half old stuff from the analog days. And I just write all the time over the years, and I've got tapes, 2-inch tapes, of analog tracks. And there's the 4 or 5 songs were culled from those tapes. My wife talked me into going through them. I was going to just leave them in the dust, but I'm glad I did because I found several good songs, and that one popped up, and I remembered the guitar part, but I didn't remember the song. But when I heard it, I thought, that needs to be on this album because it's such a song of hope and exuberance, and Lord knows we need some of that these days. So I pulled it out, and I actually worked up from that actual tape to finish the record from that demo. And that was the same with a couple of other songs. But it's interesting when you go back as a writer and hear yourself, 20 years ago, what you were doing. Sometimes it's like, oh, God, what a waste of time that was. But like on these, it was like, wow, I'd forgotten about it, but it's pretty good, It's better than I thought. And the singing wasn't too bad. The words were pretty good. And I was pleasantly surprised.
You've talked about the fact that you write and then you would hand it off to Tom. That was kind of the way that things worked. So as Alan's saying, when you go back to something like that, something as old as some of these songs that you've mentioned, how rough was it? Like I know that you're a writer, but I'm guessing in terms of my sense is mostly you're the guitar guy, you're the melody guy, a conversation that I had with Tom many, many years ago. I asked about the two of you writing together, and he commented on your harmonics and the way that you put notes together. And so I assume you're more involved with that than the lyric. So how much work was there? And I thought, oh my God, this is such a positive song. This is so Graham Nash. How perfect. Because we sure ain't feeling like it's a positive time.
Exactly. That's the same thought I had about it. It's almost like weird to even say these are the best of times because these are not the best of times, but we can hope for them, right? And I like songs about hope. And Tom wrote a lot of his songs had hope and redemption, at the end of the song. And that's, you want to leave people hopefully feeling inspired and happy after the experience. So with Tom, I write a lot, probably too much, but I'm, hopelessly addicted to the process. And so with Tom, I might write, 10 or 15 bits, and I have the ability with my home studio to make them sound like they would sound if they were finished records to some extent. And I would hand them over to him. Out of 20, he might find 1 or 2. And everything that he did was always so much better than what I handed him, But there was so much stuff he couldn't process. And here's 20 more, here's 20 more, So as time went on, I realized, he's overwhelmed. He's not going to be able to write to all this stuff. And I wouldn't really expect him to just write to the best ones, And so then I started thinking, well, maybe I should try and dig in and see what it would sound like if someone sang or wrote to this track. And so I started doing it myself. And I'm still working on that, but I'm getting a lot better. I found a voice that's my own, and I'm getting better with the lyrics. And it's funny because I never used to write lyrics at all, and now I really enjoy it. It's a real challenge to come up with a character and a rhyme scheme and a flow that goes somewhere. I'm really into it now.
Does the context shift? I mean, were you writing those as songs for the Heartbreakers? And is that different than writing now for you, for this band? Or is it just you write and whatever you write is something Mike writes and that's where it goes?
I write whatever the muse tells me to write. After I'm done, I listen to it and I go, well, Tom might like this one, or maybe Don Henley would like this one because Tom didn't hear it or whatever. But in the moment, I'm always writing, from the gift, whatever it is. And if it says go this way, I don't think, well, the Heartbreakers wouldn't do that. I just write the song and figure it out later, and I still work like that. I don't write for anybody really except myself and the people that I think might be listening to the song at some point. And there's a freedom in that, and I think the best stuff comes out of free inspiration.
This may sound like a crazy, simplistic question, but you talk about how much you write, and it's different for everyone. Obviously, especially during COVID, we spoke with artists who could not write a note. And then there was the other ones who had to write even more than ever. But for you, when it comes to writing, why do you write? I mean, I know that sounds like a simple question, but...
No, it's a good question. You write because you have to, because you were called to do it by some energy. It says, I'm giving this to you. This is your gift. Take it well, brother, and do good by it. And it's your obligation to follow that idea. And when you become a musician, or at least for me, and you learn your instrument, and then I started trying to write songs and chord progressions. So day one, I was always kind of composing things in my head that I could play the guitar with. But my point is, once you get that bug and that little light turns on, that channel into that secret door of songs and characters and lyrics,
up there somewhere?
Up there in the astral plane, whatever. I know it sounds crazy, but it is kind of like magic. Where do these things come from, and why did it come to me and not to whoever else down the street, But that's why I look at it like a gift, and I love it. And once you become a writer, you're like almost on 24-hour writing. Your antenna's on all the time, and you're like always a writer. And there's a funny story that I read about Leonard Bernstein once, where he was at a cocktail party with his wife, and some lady came up to him and said, Mr. Bernstein, could I? And his wife put her hand in front of the lady and said, shh, can't you see? It's in the middle of a crowded room. Can't you see he's composing? So the thing is, once your antennas are up, you're always listening. I might hear a song, or I might hear somebody say something. And you're always grabbing these little bits and trying to retain them and then craft them into a song. That's just my path.
How has it been for you shifting into being a front man? You were the first mate for so many years. And I also talked to Tom several times about that relationship and about what it was for you guys. Are you reluctant, but it's the only way to get it out there? Or are you okay with moving into that role?
Well, I was shy at first when I got this Dirty Novice band together. We had some songs and went out and played a few bars, and I had to get used to being on the microphone and getting used to the sound of my voice and trying not to sound like this person or that person and hit the notes and pitch and all that stuff. I have a lot more understanding and compassion for what Tom was going through, because there's a lot of things to do when you're the singer. You got to lead the band. You got to remember the lyrics. You got to sing on pitch. You got to play the guitar. You got to work the audience. I mean, there's a whole thing that goes on with being the guy. And in the Heartbreakers, I could just sit back and Tom's doing all the work. I'll play guitar here and there. So it was an eye opener to see how much responsibility comes with that place. And but I have come to really appreciate it. I love the audiences now. I've gotten comfortable where I can communicate with them, without being scared or that they're going to throw anything at me. And I've got a great band, and I just want to get better. And I just love playing. I love writing. I just want to keep on going, and I learned a lot from Tom all those years watching him. A lot of it kind of seeped in, I hope, little things that he would do that are good as the leader of a group.
Things as leading, meaning leading the band day to day as a band leader, or things that he would do on stage as the frontman in the spotlight?
Both, really. I mean, Tom made a lot of band business decisions. He had a good business sense in the record deals and decisions about staging or touring, where we should go, how we should travel. He was pretty hands-on with a lot of that stuff, which I am now with my band. But mostly I was referring to the way he presented the show on stage. When to talk to the audience, when to be quiet, when to maybe let them sing if they feel like singing, when to get the band loud, when to bring it down. And it's an organism. A gig is an organism. It changes. And with the Dirty Knobs, we have a set list, but we also, things can change on a dime. I might just throw the song, I feel like doing this song instead. Or I might let the other guitar player, play another couple of rounds. I want to hear what you're doing. So things can change depending on what the audience is breathing on. And it's just a fascinating thing, So that's what I'm trying to get good at.
You have dates, I believe, starting in June, just before the record is out June 14th. Vagabonds, Virgins, and Misfits out June 14th. And I think you have some dates just before. But during your set, I mean, you got 3 albums worth of stuff at this point. Do you go back? I understand that you play some Tom Petty in there. And what is that for you?
Well, it's good. This is not a Heartbreakers tribute band, but I was in the Heartbreakers and I wrote a lot of the songs and I know how they should go. I know how they should sound, and I know how the singing should be expressed with the right slang or character, because I grew up around that stuff. So I've got a grasp on how to present those songs. And I also feel like I'm out promoting my band and our new record. But, people that come to see me, most of them know that I had another band, and they love those songs, So I try to, I love them too. I think those songs hold up. I think that's what makes us, have longevity, is our songs were really good. And I wrote quite a few of them myself with Tom. So it's nice to do them. I do the ones that I can handle vocally. I sometimes rearrange them a little bit, or sometimes I just do the record, because I want to please everybody. They come all the way to see my band. Well, here's a little extra treat. Remember this song? I mix that up a bit. Any night, I might do 3 or 4 Heartbreaker songs in the show. And I really love them. It keeps me close to my brother, spiritually.
Indeed. A couple of months back, saw Stevie Nicks live. And I don't know if you've seen her lately or if you guys speak or what, but she appears to really miss Tom like as much as you do. She kicks off the show. She plays on tape Running Down a Dream before she even walks on stage.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stevie.
And leaves the stage to Heartbreaker songs.
Exactly.
Yes.
And of course, Stop Dragging My Heart Around is in the middle. And Tom is such a presence with her.
Well, we were all very close, and Tom was a force. He took up a lot of air in whatever room he was in. He was the guy in the room, and he was just a beautiful person. And they had a very strong brother-sister thing, and I have a very strong sister thing with Stevie as well. And with Tom, of course, we were brothers from other mothers, whatever you call it. And it's a big hole to fill, and I don't know if it'll ever be filled, but he's always there, and I think it's great that she's remembering him and letting other people remember him at her shows. And that's what I try to do, too. I want to remember him. I don't want to let him fade away.
Yeah.
I know you play on this Petty country record that's coming out. One of the most great songs you play on Ways to Be Wicked, which any afterlife for that song is good news. But are you, do you get brought in on any of the decisions around upcoming Tom reissues or boxes or these kind of tributes or any of that stuff? Are you part of the brain trust on that?
I am kind of the silent Wizard of Oz behind the curtain with the re-releases. The estate handles most of what they want to do. They want to put out the Fillmore. They want to put out a reissue of an album with a few extra tracks. They will spearhead that idea, and I don't really want to I don't like looking back per se, but they will send it to me when they have an idea, and I'll just okay it usually because it sounds good. Make sure the mixes are good and that their songs are right. But I leave that mostly up to them. I'm a silent partner, as you might say.
Because I know, speaking of your radio show, I know you had Adria on.
Yeah.
It seems like almost 2 years ago now. Again, time, no idea. But
no, time
you did have her on.
It's getting faster as we go.
Yeah, that's the other thing about age, right?
The other side of the hill, you start going down faster. That's okay.
Back to the record, you brought Chris Stapleton back. He was on the first record, Pistol Packin' Mama, a kick-ass song. And he is back on this one on Don't Wait Up, which you say is based on a joke.
It is. We won't get into that, but I cleaned it up a little bit. But he was around. We were writing one day. He stopped by. He was doing a Grammy show or something. He had a day off. He'd come out because we're really close. We're like connected, and I said, would you like to sing on a song, and I put that old song up, and he sang a verse tremendously. And I had another song called My Old Friends, which is about saying goodbye to all your alcoholic beverages. It's kind of a joke song, really. But he sings harmony on that as well. And also on the song that he sang a verse on Don't Wait Up, at the end, my friend Ben Mutt came over, and we set up the grand piano in the front room and mic'd him up, and he did the whole Little Richard thing for us. What a great player. It was fun.
Pretty awesome for a guitar band to bring in that keyboardist, man. He's pretty awesome.
Yeah, he's about the best there is, I think.
We got one more. I got to ask, you have so many great guests on this. You want to talk about Hell or High Water with Lucinda?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Hell or High Water is a song I'm very proud of. It's a story song. There's a character, and it's a little film of this guy that's, out on the road or whatever, and he bumps into this girl in the night, and things evolve, and he ends up, getting into a situation, and he's trying to get out of it, hell or high water. And so I had this song. It's an older song, and I cut the track with no females in mind, really. And when I was thinking, it's such a movie, it'd be nice if the female character showed up in the movie, it might make the song better. And I thought of Lucinda, and she had done my show too. So once again, I took my opportunity, said, would you sing on a song? And she did the most amazing, soulful, deep verse on there. It really made the song twice as good. So I owe her a big favor for that.
It is beautiful. Again, with any of these guys, were you in studio with them, or was this sort of a long distance kind of a relationship?
Lucinda was here. We did the vocal here, I think. Yeah, we did that vocal here together. Chris was here. Graham, I mailed the tape to him because he was in New York. So most of it was eyeball to eyeball.
That's the way to do it, I guess, huh?
You can hear what it is with the live band. Vagabonds, Virgins, and Misfits coming in June from Mike Campbell and Dirty Knobs.
Mike, thanks so much for taking some time with this great rock and roll record. I mean, straight up, no messing around. We thank you.
There's a lot of guitar, too. There's a lot of guitar on this record.
The guitar lives.
All right. I do appreciate you guys.
Thank you again to Mike Campbell. The Dirty Knobs' new album, Vagabonds, Virgins, and Misfits, in stores June 14th.
When we come back, my conversation with E from the EELS.
This is Sound Up with Mark Goodman and Alan Light, the only music podcast that matters.
We are back on Sound Up. Recently, I caught up with Mark Oliver Everett of the EELS to talk about their new release, EELS Time, and quite a bit more, as you will see. Mark Oliver Everett formed the band EELS in 1991. Better known as E, he's continued this musical journey over many iterations of the band, as well as some amazing solo work and collaborations with an incredibly diverse set of artists. Now, E set to release EELS' 15th album, EELS Time. That record due out June 7th, and I am thrilled for me to talk for the first time to E. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, what took so long?
Where you been? Really excited about this record. It's interesting. What I want to do, if we could, because this seems to be a bit different. Your approach was a bit different. In the notes for this upcoming album, you talked about, well, a lot of things, but the health scare that you have recently gone through. And I guess something that struck me about it was I got this amazing sense of positivity and a sense of humor about it all. And that an experience like that, and I know I've been through something as well, causes you to reassess what's important. Can you tell us what happened and how this changed your perspective?
Well, I've had so many situations in my family when I was younger that caused me to reassess my priorities and become very conscious of, how short life can be and all that. And it was only a matter of time before I became one of the subjects of, time catching up with me, the way it caught up with my family members. So just finally, my number was up, and I'm very lucky though because I had this aorta situation that people die from all the time simply because they don't know about it, and I'm lucky because I knew about it. And it's the only reason I know is because my father died of a heart attack when he was 51, when I was a teenager. And this isn't the same thing, but it was because of that I knew that the hereditary factor of heart stuff is a big factor. So I've made sure to get whatever the latest scan is every year. And that's how it was discovered that I had this aorta situation and it was going to burst and I would be dead right now if I didn't swap it out. So I'm lucky that I'm not one of the people who had no idea, because you don't usually feel symptoms.
Right.
I didn't feel any symptoms. I felt fine. Like one day it was just going to burst.
So they swapped out your aorta.
Yeah.
And you say you continue to get scans. I mean, is it still possible that something like that could happen? Like if you're genetically predisposed? I mean, now that
this one's good for 15 years. So I'm good for 15 years. As far as the aorta goes, I mean, there shouldn't be anything with that. But then there's the myriad of other body problems that could always happen. Right. So
I will say, sharing with you, I can identify, I had a liver transplant about 10 years ago.
Whoa.
Which caused me
that's
to,
huge.
right? And
Yeah.
I was so into what you were saying about your experience and how it changed you. And I love, that's what I loved about this record, coming out of that, what that has produced in you. I feel the same way. I got delivered 10 years ago, and the woman I know who I got it from. I don't know her, but she was at the time 62, younger than I was at the time, but
Wow.
still, like, so now
Well,
here
it seems to be working. You look great.
right? That's what I say. And
Yeah.
every day I thank that woman, and I thank the universe that I'm still around.
Well, I only have a cow to thank for my aorta, and but I do.
Oh, cool.
I do thank him or her regularly.
Well, let's talk about this new record. A couple of things about it. You also have talked about what COVID was like for you and what lockdown was like and how exciting it was to get out after that. And I've spoken to a lot of artists about that period, about that lockdown period. And some are like, it was the best thing that could possibly happen to me. I just hibernated. I went away. I was up in my bedroom writing songs. And others have said my mind was numb. I couldn't do anything. Are any of these songs from that era, or is this all since?
Yeah, no, most of them were, at least a lot of them were from that era. We also put out 2 albums before this during that era because there was nothing else to do. We couldn't go out on the road. So yeah, I just was at home. I was also like a newly divorced father of a very young kid right as the pandemic hit. And it was just the strangest thing to go back out on tour after like 4 years of that or whatever. And, you don't realize like how much it's kind of messed with your mind. And, being like a divorced father in the pandemic for all that time, you don't notice it, but no one cares. You're the last thing anyone cares about. Nobody cares about me in that situation, And so that was the weirdest thing about finally going back out on tour was all of a sudden there was just all these people and they were all hyper focused on me and everybody cared so much about me. And that's when I realized like what a mind fuck the pandemic had done on me was I didn't know how to accept that or deal. I didn't know how to be. It was weird. It took a couple weeks to adjust to it.
There was that time I remember too, I'm being on the other side of that equation of what it was to go back to my first concert that wasn't a live stream.
Yeah. It was great just to be around people,
Yeah.
Cause like I couldn't be around people at all. I had no personal life because you don't want to be the asshole that shuts down your whole kid's school because you got COVID. And so like all of a sudden there was just all these people and it was just like, wow, and then once I adjusted to it, I was like, okay, this is great. This is fun.
So is there, sort of a time continuum on these? Like what was the first song that wound up on this record that you wrote?
I don't really remember, but the record was made before my surgery, but I knew it was coming. So it was on my mind. I'm sure that it influenced like the first song on the album Time, mm-hmm. which is probably one of the early ones that maybe the first one, I can't remember, but I obviously a song like that, if you know that you're having open heart surgery coming up, it probably influence the subject matter.
Indeed. I mean, what also influences the subject matter with folks like us is that we're not teenagers anymore.
Now you tell me. Yeah.
In the mind, I know we are.
That was the other weird thing about going out on tour after all that time was, we're just sitting at home getting older and you're not really aware of it. You're not thinking about it that way. And then you get out there and you're like, I'm 4 years older than the last time I did this.
Boy, am I out of breath.
Yeah, but I wasn't feeling that way, but then it's like, okay, I got to figure out how to act my age in some ways,
Oh God, don't. Can I just say, don't act your age, please?
Well, I mean, I am on this album cover doing an Elvis karate chop barefoot on stage. Not typical age-appropriate behavior, I guess.
One of the cool things about EELS and about you is that you really have a great love of collaboration. And that's continued all through. And let's talk a little bit about some of the collabs on the new record. I know, Cool G Murder, I know you've worked with before.
Yeah, a lot. We've been working together since 2000. So 24 years.
Yeah.
I mean, collaboration, I don't know why anybody wouldn't want to collaborate musically anyway, because it's just, it's why Lennon and McCartney did it. It's like they got, obviously, them together was an unbelievable combination that either of them wouldn't have been without each other. And that's why you do it, is you get stuff out of someone that you wouldn't get out of yourself. And it takes you to like a whole different, exciting place. It's so fun.
Yeah. So what is it about collaboration? And going a bit further, talking about the lockdown, were you collaborating then, as I know a lot of artists were, or did that have to wait until you could get back into the studio? Because it seems as though some of this stuff for this record, maybe most of it, you were together. There were people who were recording with you.
So the one thing we all of us musicians learned in the pandemic was how to record remotely and separately, which is how most of the last two EELS records were made, where I do my part.
Right.
And then send it, email it to whoever I'm collaborating with. And we all got so used to that. And that turns out to be, it can be an effective way to do it. It's not as fun as being in the same room, and it takes longer, but it can be an effective outcome. And still, though, a good amount of this record was still made during like the end of the pandemic period. So some of it was still made that way. But it does include some of the first times we were all back in the same room together, and that's always fun.
So what about what is it about Kool G that you go, man, let's here's some other stuff I'm working on, come on in, and what is it about him?
Well, he's just a great secret weapon. He's not such a secret now that I said that, but he's just an incredible musician. He's incredibly versatile on so many instruments. He's an amazing bass player, amazing keyboardist. He's even a great drummer.
Let's talk about Tyson Ritter. That's a really wild sort of what you said. That your collaborations are, I forget the word. Well, like they happen organically. I was going to say random, but organically.
Organically, usually it's just like you meet somewhere. Like John Parrish, who I've done a couple albums with. We met backstage at Top of the Pops when we were there one year, and he was playing with PJ Harvey, and you start talking, and you hit it off, and then you start talking about writing some music. But in the case of Tyson, it is a real curveball because it wasn't like an organic thing like that. It was like a manager reaching out to a manager, because Tyson, who was on in his band, the All American Rejects, was on DreamWorks Records at the same time that we were, but they weren't on my radar. They were like a younger band. I wasn't familiar with them. And so all these years later, he had written a song for a movie that he was acting in, to be the end title song in the movie, called Prisoner's Daughter. And his manager contacted my manager to ask me to sing on it with him. And I listened to it, and it was really cool, and I liked it a lot. And I did it. And then that led to me doing a scene in the movie where Tyson actually beat me up, which was really fun. And then we started working on another song for the movie. And halfway through it, I said, I like this too much. Can I hijack this for the next EELS record? And Tyson said, yeah. And then we wrote 4 more that are on the record too.
Again, is it just a collaboration is a thing you have to, I'm not a songwriter, but I imagine it's sort of like you got to get naked in front of this person.
Well, that is the hard part. There's nothing more awkward than like sitting there shooting each other's ideas down. It's where you're just trying to find more and more diplomatic ways to go, like, yeah, but what if maybe something else? I think that part's really hard. I get lucky a lot of times. It just kind of clicks, and there's not too much of that. But that's the hard part.
Can you look at this record and find a through line, which I know doesn't usually happen until after you're done?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I can't really say yet for sure, but I would say like maybe Time, and that's why it's called Time. And that's why I added an exclamation point to the title of the album and, made it deceptively look like this super fun party album on the cover. But because in a way it is to me, it's like, you got to celebrate what time you have and, try to make the most of it.
Do you feel like that's kind of part of what your gig is here, is maybe to awaken people to that?
I mean, that's the one thing that I got out of like having my family members all die prematurely was, was the message I got was like, oh, wait a minute. The positive spin on this is, well, I'm still here and I'm hyper aware now of how limited time can be. So, I'll try to remind people to enjoy the good stuff and, try to get yourself in positions to have more good stuff happen while you're here,
I said at the top that one of the things that struck me as you were talking about this surgery and the issues, the physical issues you had, not to mention what had happened with your dad, years ago, that you have this attitude. There really is a can-do attitude. I hate to use that term, but what do you attribute that to? I'm Jewish. I grew up with a Jewish mother. I can mutcha everything to death and just find the negative in anything. How are you on the other side of that coin, and how do I get there?
Well, I'm a doer, not a dreamer. It's just something I've always had. Like when I was a little kid or a teenager, I guess not a little kid, but like a teenager, someone told me that one of my friend's moms said to another mom, that Mark Everett, when he makes up his mind, he makes up his mind. Like, I don't know where it comes from. I've just always been lucky enough to be someone who doesn't just sit around and I think it clicked though at a certain point. Now that I think about it, like in my late teens or early 20s, I wasn't always that guy that mom was talking about, but I did. It just clicked to me because I didn't have any hope for any kind of future, and I just didn't. It seemed like an impossible dream that I would ever that I could ever like do anything professionally with music. I was a singing drummer in a fairly popular high school band, but I didn't think I realistically just thought that's as far as it can go, and then I just got like sick of being in Virginia, and I just didn't have anything going on. I didn't have any hope for anything in the future. And I had a girlfriend who said, why don't you try to do something with music? It's, you're good at it and you like it. And I was like, it's, you're crazy, but you're right. What else am I going to do? And I threw everything I owned in my car and drove to LA, and I didn't know a single person in LA. And
crazy.
Yeah. And I had 3 miserable years, and then I got a record deal. It's unbelievable. It's all unbelievable.
Again, you're just the fact that you're chill about it all. And you just said that you got to that kind of vibe early on in your late teens, 20s. Good for you. Well done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was considered a late bloomer in the music business because it wasn't until I was like 23, 24 that I actually drove to LA. And then you put the 3 years of nothing on top of that. So I was like 27 when I made my first album, and you got to remember, like the Beatles were like 27 when they broke up, so that's late bloomer in my book.
So you're going to tour this record, I'm guessing, yeah?
Well, I don't know, because of the stupid pandemic messed up our timing.
Yeah.
I don't know when, because it was not even a year ago we were playing where you are in New York at Webster Hall, which is where the picture on the cover is from.
Oh.
Just less than a year ago, I was karate chopping at Webster Hall. And so it's awkward timing now that, usually they like you to, the booking agents and whatnot, like you to wait, at least take a year off in between tours. We don't always do that. Sometimes we break the rules. And I think right now they think it's too soon. So we're just trying to figure out the timing. The pandemic has ruined so many things, even that.
Indeed. It certainly played hell with all of our lives, and certainly the music biz and your way of making a living.
Yeah. Well, I mean, luckily we're used to being screwed there, so whatever.
Oh, man. So it's the pandemic and the internet that really fucked up everything. Can we agree on that?
Well, now that you put it that way, yeah. But, also, I'm realistic. There's a lot of good things about the internet and about how it helps music and, making albums in the pandemic.
Right.
I couldn't have done it without the internet.
Right, of course.
So,
of course.
Yeah.
So you're sort of on pause as far as live shows are concerned.
Well, just at the moment, yeah.
Because the record, again, EELS Time is out June 7th. And I know, I would imagine, certainly for you, theoretically, you would want to like jump out on the road by June 7th. But it's a very crowded field out there. And a lot of big tours taking a lot of money out of the market. I have to imagine that that's part of your decision, yeah?
Well, the booking agent's decisions, or whatever. Yeah, I guess. I'm just a dumb songwriter. I just go where I'm told.
Well, I do hope that you're able to talk the bookers into sending you out. I mean, that you have people who love you, who want to see you. We're out here waiting. And, those guys, they don't know what they're talking about. You got to get out there to us. We want to see you.
Yeah, you never know. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. And we're going to get there as soon as we can.
Fair enough. And I should ask, who are EELS now?
Well, for the last few tours, it's been me and my longtime guitarist, the Chet, and longtime bassist, Big Al, and a great drummer named Little Joe. I mean, when you put Big Al next to Little Joe, you thank God Chet's there to balance the stage.
And then there's E.
And then there's me, just karate chopping out front.
The record, once again, EELS Time, out June the 7th. I'm happy to get to talk to you, Mark Oliver Everett, E of EELS fame. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
The new album from the EELS, EELS Time, is out this Friday, June 7th.
When we come back, we've got our new music picks of the week, and we will hear from artist FREDDY about her new music.
This is Sound Up with Mark Goodman and Alan Light, the only music podcast that matters.
Welcome back to Sound Up, and it's time for our new music picks of the week.
All right. One of my picks of the week comes from an artist that I have been shouting about for years, close to 30.
Lots of years.
Her name is FREDDY, and she's been away for a bit, hasn't released any new music, but she is back with a new song called Shotgun. Please welcome my daughter, FREDDY. Okay, FREDDY, welcome to Sound Up. I will say, I mentioned that you're my daughter, Spencer, who has taken the stage name FREDDY, and we've had her on, she was on Debatable, our SiriusXM show on Volume a few years ago, and out of that, I know a number of Volume Maniacs are now following you, so I know that they'll be happy that there's some new music from you, but I know that you haven't been releasing music for a while. So what's been going on? Where have you been and why now?
Well, one, I first have to say thank you so much for having me. This is super cool and weird because you're my dad, and I feel a little bit of like Nepo baby vibes, but I'm grateful for the experience. With that said, yeah, I have not been putting out music, I think because I got to a place where it really was not feeling authentic and genuine, and all I was doing was saying that I was being authentic and genuine, when really I've been creating music now since I was about 20, like really creating music, not just writing songs in the shower. And I'm letting kind of boys run the show. I'm letting producers in the room run the show. I'm letting co-writers run the show because I was just happy to be in the space, and I didn't want to do it wrong. And I think I finally got to this point where I took a break from social media. I took a break from accepting co-writes that I knew didn't feel good, going in rooms that didn't feel good from the beginning. But I was just like in this, if you're not painfully uncomfortable all the time and it's not really, really hard, that's how it's supposed to be. Do it that way. And so I think taking a breather for 2 to 3 years to just write myself and then look at what I was writing and then go into the studio to record stuff that actually felt authentic and genuine. So now I guess with Shotgun, it felt authentic and genuine. It wasn't a boy being like, write about this, sing about this. This is the way we're going to do it.
It's really interesting.
Yeah,
but do you feel like
No.
No, do you feel like those lessons are, eternal and universal lessons of like, this is the ridiculous way that this works? Do you feel like that's sort of where the world is right now? Like, what did you take away from going through, those stops and starts?
Yes, I want to be so clear that I not in a poor me way, but I am not special to this. This is so common across the board. I think not just in music. I think it's just kind of what it is. Men kind of, you guys all have great energy, but some men have big energy, and they don't not only tell you why you're not going to do it that way. They tell you why it's wrong and why it's not working and why their way is better. So no, I do believe it's universal. And I think a part of me, I guess, because I was always talking about authenticity and being true to yourself and genuine. I was so embarrassed at one point that I'm saying all I'm doing is putting out this music that feels like this is me, when really I'm one of those writers in the room that I feel like are not a lot of other writers, where people would be like, yeah, I co-wrote that song, and they wrote 3 words or 3 lines. Where when I'm in the room writing, I wrote the entire bridge, verse 2, first line of verse 1 is me, chorus melody, I like dissect it, which I don't know is a good thing or a bad thing, but I want to take credit where it was me. And I feel like I wasn't able to take credit in so much because ideas were forced upon me. And I think I just wanted to be out there so bad. I just wanted to have stuff active where people could look me up. And so it was like, whatever it is, at least people can go, this is a song by this artist.
You know, if people go onto any of the streaming services, Spotify and elsewhere, to find your music, and they look back, you have a bunch of music on Spotify. But I think that people will discover a lot of different genres, a lot of different directions, you know, and you did Americana, you certainly have done dance, you've done R&B stuff. Where did you want to be? Can you characterize where you want to be and where you want to go musically?
I can say it not eloquently. I could say, like, are you allowed to curse on this?
Fuck yeah, man.
Okay. I would say if, like, Leon Bridges fucked Amy Winehouse, and then they also kind of slept with Rihanna with a little bit of the White Stripes. Like, they all had an orgy. I'd want to be that baby.
Okay.
So
that's a hell of a combination. You threw in White Stripes. That threw me at the end there.
I mean, I just feel like I'm not a producer, but what I'm doing differently now in music is I'm vocal in the sessions with the producers, and I'm like, no, not that hat. That percussion is not the vibe, because I don't know how many artists listen to their music, but I want to vibe to my music. I want to put it on and I want it to feel good. And that requires talking in the session. That requires speaking up.
Speaking your voice, letting your voice be heard in the session.
Correct.
What did you hear? What did you discover coming out when you allowed yourself that? I mean, as you've said, there's all these different influences, there's these different ideas. Those have been there. When you gave yourself that space, what appeared for you?
It was less like, let's see what people are doing. Let's listen to the charts. Like, what are people making? Let's make what's like current and cool, versus I like to go off color. I don't know if that's weird, but I talk a lot about colors in my sessions. And so I'll be very dependent on emotion and mood. And so I think when I trusted what was actually I was feeling, instead of being like, okay, I had this idea, I wanted to write this, it is not how I'm feeling at all right now. It's too hard to tap into that, versus like, I have this idea in my head, it feels red and black and purple, and I want to put in some really grungy stuff, even though it doesn't sit well with the last thing that we did together. This is where I'm at right now. And I mean, I was listening to a little bit of you guys talking about other artists before I got on, and I think it's so awesome that we're in this time where you were talking about this other artist where she's like, she puts out this metal song and then she puts out this country song, and then like, who the fuck ever said like you have to be this one thing? It sucks. It's so unfair. But I do believe there is this magical thing when you get with the right team or producer, that you get this sound that makes it travels through what you're doing. But I do feel like I'm taking more risk and not so afraid of like, well, what if this doesn't sit next to the other one well? It's like, I'm always changing. I'm evolving. I'm probably going to be so different in 5 years.
One of the things that has happened, in addition to you being away and now you're back, is you're back on social media as well, which is, I know that you love that so dearly. And just that interaction is something that you thrive on, but you are back, and I know that you have a plan. There's I want to talk a little bit about what's coming up, what your plan is for the next 5 or 6 months. Plan
is to release music that I have been holding onto for the last 2.5 years. I was doing a lot of sessions in Nashville. I was working with people out there, and I really love that vibe. So I think, without getting too into it, there were just the beginning of this conversation of certain people just not really vibing in the room. I thought, well, how can I put this stuff out? Because that's done. That's over. But just because that's done and over, some of the stuff I still really resonate with. Some of the stuff really feels good. So I think it was about sifting through what I did and been like, ooh, this one needs a chance. But I think the weirdest thing, well, I guess I'll go back to answer your 5-month. Song a month. I have a song coming out on the 30th or the 31st of every month for the next 6 months. And
Excellent.
Yeah, I social media, I don't think we have enough time.
So some of these, I just want to be clear. I'm excited about the fact that you're putting out new music, a song a month for the next 6 months. That's great. And some of this you're saying is some that's been older that you've had for a bit that you're now sort of buffing up and ready to put out, which is great. Everybody's going to be looking forward to that. And I'm very excited because don't you have some live dates coming up?
I do. I have 2 shows in LA in July through this really cool showcase called We Found New Music. And I've watched a couple of my friends' bands play there, and it's really, really cool because you're not fighting like dinner conversations behind you. It's like people are there to hear new music, and it's not a specific genre, not a specific age group. It's just kind of all of the vibes in one, and the audience is really responsive and they feel excited to be there. And it's also like a cool vibe.
Where and when?
July 11th at a place called Bar Lubiche, and July 31st at a place called Hotel Ziggy, which is very music based. It's very, very cool.
So these are both in the LA area?
Yes. If you're in Los Angeles, I believe they're both in West Hollywood.
All right.
Yes.
The 11th and the 31st.
July 11th, July 31st. Come on out.
And 31st, there'll be song number 3 at that point out in the world.
Correct.
Yes.
I think I play the day that one comes out, and I'm really excited about that one.
A lot going on.
Love it. Love that. Freddie, it was nothing short of a gas to speak with you today. I'm so happy to be able to speak to my daughter, the artist, Freddie, about her new music, which I love. Shotgun, by the way, and I mentioned before you came on, Spence, that we joked about Shotgun, you and I, because I knew that song. You had played me the song before you dropped it, and you had had that song for a bit. And then we heard Beyonce.
Yeah, well, Junior Walker's had Shotgun out there for a little while. It's not.
You know what? You're right, Alan. I didn't even think of that. Of course, it's like not the first Shotgun song named Shotgun. Fair enough.
I'm not going to be mad about being in some sort of box with Beyonce. Like, put me next to her in any regard. I just want to breathe her space.
Any accidental searches that lead from her over into your lane are entirely welcome.
100%. 100%.
All right. So the artist is Freddie, and she can be found on socials at Spence?
On social media, on Instagram, I am Freddie Spencer. And on Spotify, capital FREDDY. You can remember it like Freddy Krueger, except I'm not scary.
Freddie, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much. Thanks, guys.
So great to talk to you, Freddie. All right. Brand new music from Freddie. Spencer, thanks for joining us. All right, so I happen to really love that song that she just put out, Shotgun, and we joked about the fact that she came out with Shotgun. She wrote Shotgun before Beyonce, Shotgun writer for life. So, there's some sort of symbiosis there. My other pick of the week, though, and I have to go with this, out this past Friday was the brand new Crowded House album called Gravity Stairs. I'm a huge fan of the band, and I listened to the record, and I really liked the record a lot. Even more so live. I was kind of surprised because they did a number of songs from this new album live. And one of them, the new single today, is called The Howl. And they did that one, and it sort of whipped by me on the record. But live, it really hit me, and as well as a couple of other songs from this new album. Plus, they have such a great catalog. So I'm really excited. If you haven't seen Crowded House or you want to see them again, their tour kicks off August 29th in St. Augustine in support of Gravity Stairs. So that's my picks.
All right. I got a couple this week. Very in the poppy girl singers lane this week for me. A singer I think I've mentioned before, named Cassie Ashton, who sort of came up in a straight country lane, but has moved into much more of a pop thing. But an interesting sort of a dark voice. I think a cool arrangement. She's got a new song called I Don't Want to Dance that I like quite a lot. And then two, a little bit more out of the indie rock lane, Charlie Bliss, a band from Brooklyn who actually I had been following before since they came out of NYU, where my friend Mike was their songwriting teacher at one point. They were in more of a sort of pure sort of indie space. Definitely the new music is more poppy, jangly. So, you know, a little bit of sort of bubblegummy pop. And this new song called Calling You Out, it's got a little bit of the vibe of The Wire by Haim, a song that I love forever, but that's sort of a guitar and break thing going on. So Charlie Bliss, Calling You Out. And then a group I don't know at all. Mark, maybe you know Magdalena Bay. It feels like somebody you might know.
Yeah.
Out of Florida. More of a dancey kind of synth poppy thing, but this new song called Death and Romance, big rock drums, big sort of propulsive atmospheric thing, feels a little different for them, and I like it a lot. And I think I don't know if you haven't listened to it, Mark, I think you would be into it.
Yeah.
So Magdalena Bay, Death and Romance, my third new music select this week. Roger, you got a couple?
Yes, I do. The first one is from an artist, and I believe it is pronounced Sasami. And she had 2 albums. The first one came out in 2019, then one in 22. She was originally in the band Cherry Glazer, left them, put out 2 solo albums, has a new song out, no mention of an album, but the song is really, really great. Mm-hmm. It's called Honey Crash. And what I love about her, she goes from one song will be kind of singer-songwriting, one song will be straight up metal, she'll do country rock. This song is kind of like a dreamy pop hard rock song. It kind of mixes it all in, and it's really, really cool. And I'm really interested to see what the rest of this album is like. Really loving this song so far. And the second song that I stumbled upon this week is by an Australian band called Royel Otis that I've not heard of before. You've heard of them, Mark?
Yeah.
Mark's been talking about these guys.
I've been talking about these guys for a while, yeah. These 2 guys.
It's 2 guys. It's a duo. And apparently you might know this, Mark, they were at SiriusXM recently and did a performance, and they did a cover of the Cranberries' Linger, which was just released as a single, it seems, and it is fantastic.
It really is.
You know what it is, too? It's like sometimes even a great song needs another artist to come out and remind you why that song is great. And I think aside from this being an excellent cover, it reminded me how good that song is in the first place. So those are my 2 picks for this week.
Exactly the same way about that one. It reminded me, oh shit, this is a great, great song. And these guys, they're kids. Yeah. Royal is the first name of the guy. Royal, I guess it's Madel. And Otis Pavlovich. Royal, not like royal like royalty. Royal, like that's him. Yep. Digging it. All right, excellent picks. All right, I guess as far as this show is concerned, it's time to wrap things up. So if you like, go to sounduppod.com, find out how you can be a part of our live Sound Up, Sound Off podcast taping. Email us at connect@sounduppod.com.
Do not forget to go over and give us a 5-star rating on whichever platform you listen to Sound Up on. We will catch you next time here on Sound Up.
Sound Up is hosted by Mark Goodman and Alan Light, produced by Roger Coletti, distributed by Revolver Podcasts. Get Sound Up on Pandora Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. To be a part of the show, email us at connect@sounduppod.com. Sound Up theme music is by Smile from Tokyo. We'll see you next time right here on Sound Up with Mark Goodman and Alan Light.